Hey, beautiful people. How are we doing? I am Anitra and Lawson, storyteller, producer, educator, and content creator. He is Dr. Andre Evans. I always say the brother that I never wanted. You want to say what's up to the people?
What's up, good people? What's going on? Glad to have you all rocking with us on episode 3.
Yep. And we are Savage Siblings. This is the Savage Siblings podcast where we are brutally honest, relentlessly transparent, and unapologetically authentic. We're so glad that you guys are here with us.
No doubt.
What's up? Give me a check-in. How you doing?
I am doing well as we just prepare. You know, I'm a little tired, but it comes with the territory with all the work. This week has been, I had to make sure I made a note of this. This week has been a week where I'm learning to give things back to people. And what I mean by that is I've kind of reached this point in life where I have to learn how to give people back what they dump on me. Spent I feel like 47 years of my life watching our parents just kind of absorb life and just take on other people's emotions or thoughts, and dad who's not a talkative person, and mom who I feel like takes on the world and just takes stuff on. Right. I've had to learn that this week that's not all the way healthy, and so I've learned to this week been giving back people their stuff. I've literally been walking up to people and be like, last week when you gave me your anxiety and your concern over this, I said, well, here I'm giving it back to you. It is yours. I'm not holding on to your issues
aggressive
anymore. And it's meant to. That's kind of where I am.
It's not even low key aggressive. It's just aggressive.
It's not. And it looks like I don't care, and I'm not saying I don't, but I'm not responsible for your anxiety. So I literally have been telling people, that conversation we had last week. Listen, this is gonna make you mad, but I'm finna give you back what you gave me. I'm giving you back your venting, giving you back your. I'm not finna. I don't share your emotions anymore.
It's real when you say finna. I'm not finna.
Yeah, well, finna. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So that's been this week. Just handing people back their stuff, and then some folk ain't talking to me, and I feel like it's working.
Right.
It's working.
It's effective. The giving back what you're giving me.
It's working. It's working.
They're on notice, right? So everybody on notice with Pastor Dre right now.
Right.
He's saying, I will give back what you give to me in the
and
spirit of love.
Funny you say it's funny, and definitely in that. And my definition of love is different than others, so it is what it is.
Right.
But and it's funny you said, Pastor, because the thing about it is people will give you what they feel, and if you don't learn to give it back, they won't grow.
Oof.
And that's the biggest thing is especially in this kind of spiritual, this Christian walk area where people will give you their anxiety, give you their depression, give you their concerns. But if I don't give it back to you, then do you really stretch your faith? Does your faith grow?
Wow.
Does your trust grow? So I realize, because they'll come back to me next week and be like, well, what'd you do with my anxiety I gave you last week? What'd you do with the problem I gave you last week? Like, what you mean what I do with it? Like, it's not mine. So
I left it at your feet.
So I have to verbally tell people now that's cool story, bro. What you gonna do?
Right.
Because I'm not taking your angst. What you gonna do? Because I'm not taking it. Hey, listen, the way my life's set up, we good over here. I got my own stuff I'm working through. I ain't finna solve your problems too now.
Listen, that's a whole podcast right there. But it's true. It's true because you will try to take it on. So I'm glad that you were retooling that throughout this week.
Yeah. You start using that word too, retooling.
Retooling.
Right? Don't listen. I don't mean to be offensive, but I'm finna retool.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, that's me. What about your week? How's your week going?
Do you remember? And I never watched all, so shame on me. I'm gonna lose my black card right here. I didn't watch every episode of the Boondocks, but I feel like the whole premise of the pause came from that show.
Yeah.
And so that's been this week for me is whether I'm actually pausing people before, like in your spirit, before they put something on me. I'm like, pause. I'll be back.
Right.
And then maybe just don't come back, or actually pausing to think about, do I need to do this? Should I be doing this? Should I walk away from this? I was able to work from home an additional day this week, and that was a pause moment. where I stopped
Nice.
and I looked at the gas prices, and I looked at, what I was doing
Absolutely.
online, and I I looked at which students promised to be there, and I was like, were they there the last 3 times? Pause.
That's
You know?
there's these memes going around on social media where like you go to the gas station, you put your card at the pump and it says go see the cashier, and you be like, never mind, I don't really need gas that bad. That's yeah, listen, you reevaluate what you really gotta do. Like I think it's time for me to fast because
Right.
gas pump said go see the cashier, which means I ain't going to the grocery store. So I might as well just go
Just
home.
go home, drink some water.
Yeah, eat the word of the Lord and
I'm
be all right.
telling you, that's that pause moment. So, yes,
Yeah,
it's been a effective pausing, even if I go in my room and close the door to not hear
yeah,
certain things. So, it's good because it definitely gave me some space to process what I need to do, what I don't need to do. So, I feel more
yeah,
productive with the pause. So,
yeah, yeah.
that's my week. So, I love it.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, cool, man. Well, let's get right into this thing. Let's get into that sound off.
Sound off segment. Sound off.
Let's get into this episode,
Sound
sound off.
off.
So the title of our episode here is "We Don't Do That Here," and it's kind of given that notion of there's certain behaviors or certain things we do as adults that, or rather as children we did because of the
Hmm.
home we grew up in. That as adults we decide, you know what, I ain't finna do that no more. So that's just yeah. I don't behave that way. I don't talk that because they're just as you grow and as times move forward, you wanna stop some of the things you saw because
Hmm.
it doesn't work for you right now.
Right.
But then every now and then you bump into somebody that whose behaviors clearly were passed down.
Right.
And it was so funny when we were talking about this. Immediately, that song from Juvenile came up. That she get it from her mama.
She get it from her mama. Cue.
Right.
Cue music. She get it from her
Get from
mama.
right. It's just like some things, man. You should really let that go. Like honestly, you still doing that at 40? Like you really? You still talking that way? Well off in your 30s, like the 50-year-old at the club still wearing like a jersey and really like you and the 7 to 8 gold chains, like we still doing that,
We're still doing that. And you're
yeah,
like, where
okay,
does that come from?
right,
Get it
where does
from her
that come,
mama.
like, right, it's yeah, we some things we just don't need to pass on generationally.
Sure.
and,
It's
and
so
it kind
funny.
of
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, well, it kind of begs the question: what are the behaviors, or what are some of these familial or family patterns or
Hmm.
pathologies, that we picked up
Hmm.
from while we
Hmm.
were young and as a family, as part of a family? What did you pick up on? And I'm gonna tell you, the people that notice it the most, what you
Hmm.
picked on, are your siblings.
Oof.
Your parents don't always notice everything,
Of
but your
course not.
siblings,
Right.
they'll be the first ones to be like, "Yeah, you got that from your mama." And it's always your
Your
mama, not
mama, right?
our. You got that from
We
your mama.
immediately assign
Oh,
it. That's your
it's
mama.
your daddy.
That's your daughter. That's
you
your son.
know,
You
you
get that from
know.
him. You get that from her.
It's crazy. We look back and we kind of see some of these undesirable behaviors, and they remind us of the behavior of our parental figures. you know, those things that we experienced as a child. I don't know. What do you think of when you hear she get it from her
She
mama?
get
When
it
you
from her mama.
yeah,
So first off, we both were in Florida, right? So we went to college in
right,
Florida, and
right,
Juvenile was the business, and the
right,
dirty. And so
yeah,
we had so much fun, like listening to his lyrics. And so I spent some time just kind of going back through the lyrics. And one thing I have to definitely give a shout out to Juvie for is that there's some really nice duality here, right? So on one
yeah,
end, the trifling stuff that you're like, oh yeah, she get that from my mom, and you roll your eyes like that's
right,
just so trifling. But then there's a whole
right.
lot of stuff that's kind of low key gangster in a good way. Like, yeah, she
No,
get it from her
absolutely,
mama. So I was
absolutely,
starting to research and just think, okay, what are examples in terms of things we do and do not like that we get from our parents, that whether we intentionally pick it up and continue to
right.
kind of perpetuate it or let it go. And I found so many people that were like afraid to bring their boyfriends or girlfriends home because they're so embarrassed by their
You know,
family's behavior. They're
I
like, I
get it.
can't bring. So my parents thought I never had a boyfriend, but they don't realize I just never brought him around because we're filthy, we're messy. There's certain things
Right,
and
right.
isms that we do.
Yes,
or I
Yes.
can't introduce you to this person or this extended family. And so I'm kind of processing my family like, okay, well, do I have experiences like that? And I'm sure later we'll get into the weeds about our own personal, but I definitely have an extended family member, and I'm going to leave it at that to protect the the guilty.
Check the names of the
The
innocent
names
or
of the
guilty.
innocent or guilty. In this case, they're guilty. But what I liked was the duality that Juvenile brought when I thought of this example. So this extended family member, she is, and we've seen this. You know, there are certain people you do not like to go to restaurants with. You don't like eating
Right.
out with them because you know it does not matter wherever you go. It can be a 5-star top class restaurant or it can be
Right. Right.
McDonald's. And I guarantee they are going to find something wrong with everything. The water's not the right temperature. There's not enough
With
ice.
everything.
The seating's problematic.
Right.
Oh, I asked for
Right.
no sauce, but I meant for it to be on the
Right.
side. And so this one particular family
Right.
member, I love them. But I'm telling you, I try to find every way, bro, to not go. Soon as they say, "Oh, let's go out to eat," I'm like, "Ooh,
Nah,
what
we good.
excuse can?" And of course, you know, my nephew's like, "We just got out of church for 7 hours. We hungry. You know, she gonna pay for it." And I'm like, "We don't have to go." And then you
Yeah.
go, and sure, and you keep thinking over years and time, it's gonna get better. Like, okay, maybe it won't be so bad this time, and it never
Never
gets
does.
better. It's
They're the
always
same person.
the complaint, and you see it trickle down to the rest of the family. But the
Yeah.
flip side of
Yeah.
that is that same individual that is complaining or asking for every single thing. I kid you not, they always get the discounts. They
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
get a free meal.
Yeah.
Their
Yeah.
name is now known. So a lot of times when they go back to the same restaurant, they're like, "Oh, hey, so and so, it's so good." And
Right.
I'm thinking
Right.
she was the one that just ran you up and
Aggravated.
down,
Right.
aggravated the devil out of you. And that
Yeah.
behavior has, it's brought rewards, it's brought fruit.
Right.
So then
Right.
other
Right.
people start to pick it up. Now, here's the funny part. Because I don't like the behavior, I can't pick it up. Like, even when I
Right.
try to get to a
Right. You
restaurant, I'd
try
be
to
like,
pick
"Well,
it
this
up.
is a little cold. Could you?" It just doesn't work for me, right? Could we
Right.
warm it up?
Right.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
because it's not, my ism. But I tell you what, that same person, when I had to have a root canal, Dre, and I
Mm-hmm.
had to wait to get, and I don't know if you guys have been through like when you have to have oral surgery, but I had oral
Yeah.
surgery and I had to wait in line for them to give me my pain medication. And this
Uh-huh.
same extended family member was standing next to me. And it was taking them too long to fill that prescription. I couldn't cry or talk. That's how much pain I was in. But
Right.
I tell
Right.
you that she get it from her mama spirit, because she did get it from her mama and she has it.
Yeah.
When I tell you she blew up that whole pharmacy and I had my medication in faster time than myself would have been able to get, I kind of
Yeah.
started thinking, yeah, where'd she get that mouth from? She get it from her mama. Where'd she get
Right.
that
Right.
pressure from? She
Right.
get it from her mama. Got my medicine.
Right.
I started pushing through. So there's that
Yeah.
duality. There's certain things that we
Absolutely.
absolutely hate, but sometimes, and maybe that's the benefit of it, is other times to pull it out where it's more
Yeah.
effectively used when it comes
Yeah.
to these isms. So I've been evaluating that and thinking about our own family in that regard. And while I haven't quite gotten to the space where I'm able to pull that card out where I can be, ghetto on cue or gangster on
Right.
cue,
Right.
I can't fully knock the people that have it in terms of my
Yeah.
judgment because it has
Yeah.
benefited me when I had a free dessert at Coco's restaurant. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's that.
No, I think for me so I'm going to speak from a different angle.
Sure.
Because I know we're talking about the song "She Get It From Her Mama," but it's just kind of this passed down thing. I remember instinctively on the just in the living room having a conversation with Corey, my youngest,
hmm
and she said something, and I said, "Corey, what on earth were you thinking?" And what she said to me was, "Well, Dad, didn't you do the same thing when you were my age?"
Mm.
And at that moment, I just kind of got quiet because I
Right.
wanted to say something. But instead, what I did is I called our mom and I put her on speakerphone. And I said, "Mom, you remember that day when I was young and maybe a teenager and you said to me, 'One day I hope you have kids that act just like you?'" And Mom
Ooh.
just started laughing.
Ooh.
And I said, yeah, well, you spoke that into existence right here, right now. And so it's
Ooh.
it's those
Parents
moments
curse.
there, right? It's it's that parents curse, exactly. It's just that moment right there that, I'm saying to myself, I'm looking at Corey and I'm like, listen, I'm gonna need you to break away from this because
Work with
these are
me.
not
Work with
behavior,
me.
right? These are not behaviors I need you to keep going through.
Mm.
But here's kind of what both sides are saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the side you're describing or the side I'm describing, it's this understanding, and I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it is what it is. But it's this identity matching. What happens?
That's so
This
good.
identity matching that kind of involves kind of anything, whether it's a physical characteristic or a mannerism or a
Mm-hmm.
thought process of a specific personality trait that you see in the young that resembles what you see in the parent or the one or the environment where the child got raised in, or just kind of what the child witnesses, right?
Right.
And that identity matching becomes a question of, does that mean they're going to grow up and be just like their mama or
Mm.
their father?
So good.
And that's so when I think about just the idea of what did we pass down, there, it oftentimes, I'm going to say, it's not, it goes beyond just seeing similarities. And so when we do this identity matching, sometimes it can be detrimental,
Mm. That's
right?
good. That's good.
Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it can be, oh, that's how your dad behaves. And then they take that on. So we got to be we got to be careful in that
Mm-hmm.
regard. But
Mm-hmm.
then as a sibling growing up watching it, I love it because we can say, well, yeah, that one little thing might be, but guess what? You don't have to keep doing that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't have to keep behaving, because when we're not careful, the child will pick up the characteristic.
Right.
The
Right.
child will take it on, because as a child, a lot of times you look at your parents, no matter how bad or good they are, you look at them as the model,
That's so right.
behavior. So you pick it up, whether it's bad or good. As a child, you say, "Oh, okay, well, cool. If mama does it this way, if daddy does it this
Mm-hmm.
way,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm gonna keep doing it,
Yeah.
right?"
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the truth of the matter is, or nevertheless, I should say, kind of that emulating or adopting these superficial characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing: it's gonna always involve some type of emotional meaning,
Yeah. That's good.
and that's going to be attached not just to that moment, but to later on in life. And that's kind of how we get that familiar, that family pathology. um it's near impossible for me to be just like my mother or just like my
Right.
father.
Right.
But what happens is, oh, your dad does that, emotional identity matching,
Wow.
and now I keep that on because I put the emotion with the action, with the perception at such a young age, that I'm saying, oh, well, if my mom does this or my dad does this, that's cool. I can do it. But there's a dangerous realization, or I should say, at that age, we don't always realize that personal or personality development is more complex and has little to do with the
Mm.
likeness or the imitation that's kind of being ascribed to us in that moment. So the kind of this portion of kind of the sound off kind of begs the question: what was ascribed to you growing up? Oh man,
Mm.
that's you just
Mm-hmm.
like your mom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You just like your
Mm-hmm.
dad. But now you look at it as an adult, be like, no, okay, why y'all do that to me?
Right.
No, no. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so there's some things I know. For me, dad was quiet. Um, he was somewhat reserved, isolative.
Mm.
Um, and then there were moments where his childlike behavior came out, but there were more moments where he was just always serious.
Sure. Yep.
So anytime I
Yep.
was serious, oh, you're just like your dad, but I don't want to be serious. So as an adult, I had to learn, oh, wait, no, no, no. I want more moments where I'm childlike
Mm.
than serious. And I know for me, that's one of the many things that was ascribed to me, is the seriousness of dad.
Yeah. And speaking of serious business, our sponsor for this podcast is serious, and that's the Savage Siblings podcast, me and my brother. So again, we are super glad that you guys are rocking with us. We want to remind you here on this podcast, our goal is to be brutally honest, relentlessly transparent, and unapologetically authentic. And the podcast is all about perspective. You know, we discuss all of life's issues from various vantage points from respected experts, educated gurus, spiritual leaders, and intellectual juggernauts in all of the industries. Now, we're clear we are not experts in all fields, just a brother and sister who love to discuss all the facets of life with a strong foundation for storytelling and through the lens of the sibling experience. So again, thank you for rocking with us. We're glad that you're here.
Absolutely. Nick, you ready to get savage?
It is time to get savage. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, what's crazy to me now? We're talking about we don't do that here, and so what's crazy to me is, despite the traits and the reminiscence of our parents or other people who were kind of meaningful in our life, and I said earlier, it's impossible that we actually are like them because we have our own experiences.
Right.
But it's impossible because we can hardly touch the depth of who we are in our reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can hardly touch the depth of who we are in our reality when we're too busy saying, I look just like, or I act just like, or I sound just like, a parental figure or someone who we vote is very significant in our life, because they're going to walk a different path than us, and
Absolutely.
we're always going to walk a different path. I'm gonna let you jump in real quick. Tell me, in terms of kind of what we're dealing with today, tell me your thoughts.
So I know we've had several life-changing moments throughout our entire journey from, childhood all the way to adulthood, but certainly for both of us, our dad has had really specific moments. I think there's probably fewer life-changing moments with him, but they're very impactful. I know that was my experience, and certainly you'll be able to chime in. But one moment that, came to mind as I was thinking about pathologies, I labeled it the law of transition. That's for our father, right? So
Right.
I distinctly remember, and I think every parent does this, and I'm sure you and I will continue to experience it, but there's a moment where we lovingly or not so lovingly, gently or not so gently push our kids out of the house, right? That kind of classic eagle and eaglet moment where you're saying, okay, it's time for you to get out there and go on your own. Now, here's the thing. So Dad's law of transition, I first was exposed to it through you.
Right.
I remember very clearly when I was late middle school, just before high school, and you were finishing out high school, Dad not necessarily talking to you about it, but I remember the notion of the law, him simply saying, you got about a year to figure this out, and then you're going to get out the house. Now, I wasn't involved in the conversation. You probably can retell it with a lot more specifics. But I remember watching and saying, yeah, bro, you need to get out the house because I want your room, right? You need to get out the house because that's a man thing, right? He's putting hair on your chest. He's toughening you up. And so
I like that you thought it was a conversation.
I did.
I like that you labeled it a conversation.
Right, exactly. No, it's the law of transition. It's just you uphold it, right? It just happens and you uphold it. But I remember thinking, okay, that's something that fathers do with their sons, right? So then 4 years later, you're gone. You're off in college. You're living your life.
Yeah.
And I remember my senior year, I had decided and told our parents, I'm not going to work this year because I have to, and I'm doing the air quotes here, focus on my studies, right? So I had stopped working. It was just, the thespian president. I was dibbling and dabbling in college applications. I also did the whole military thing where I went and took the test and went and did all the physical training.
Physicals,
Yes, did all of that stuff and was 100% comfortably undecided on anything, right? Now, I knew I was probably going to go to college, but there's no rush. Right? I don't need to hurry up and make any of these decisions. And our father, he's not going to sit down like our mom and have a conversation. He's not going to plan a family intervention. He's going to wait till you running out the door with your keys to go hang out with your friends and say, excuse me.
Just
so you know.
Right.
Whatever you
just
decide.
So we clear.
whatever you decide. And there was a phrase like that ended like this: you got about a year,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're going to move
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I'm
Yep.
kind of like
That's
pause and stop and look and
yeah.
like, huh? And he's like, right. If you decide to go to college, you can go out of
That's
state
fine. That's
and you'll
good.
move out,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
If you
Yeah.
decide to go to the military, then you can enlist
Yeah.
and you'll move out. You can
Yeah.
stay in Kansas and
Right.
get a job
Yeah.
and work for a year,
Uh-huh.
and then you'll move out.
And
So
then
it
you
didn't
move out.
matter. It was always going
Right.
to end with, and then
Yeah.
you'll move out. Now,
Right.
here's what's crazy. I knew that law of transition
Mm-hmm.
applied, but I thought it only applied to you. Now, first of all, the
Right.
first reason I thought it only applied to you is because you're Andre, right? Just plain
Right.
and simple. Andre needs discipline. He's been such a troubled child, right? Hell, yes, Father, be tough on him. Make sure he does not ruin the family legacy. He needs that pressure. That was my first thought. So I was like, wait, what do you
That
mean?
was my thought too.
Right.
So we're good.
So
That
were
was
you-
my thought too. We're on the same page.
And so I'm thinking that's for Dre. But my dad just
Yeah.
looks at us in his recliner, and he's
Mhm,
just smiling.
mhm.
But my second thought, bro, was I'm like, wait a minute though, but I'm a girl.
Yeah, I'm the daughter.
I'm the daughter. Well, you can't kick me out. Like,
Right.
I'm going to move out, but I need time to think about it.
Yeah.
So I'm hemming and hawing. He's not saying much. And then he said 4 life-changing words to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm thinking, Dad, you got me, right? Like, you got me. It doesn't matter. I can stay as long. He says, what if I die?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there. You know me. I'm a natural debater, right? I'm trying to pull everything out of the sky. And I was silenced, bro. I was like,
Yeah.
you say, I got nothing. I got nothing.
Yeah. Nothing.
What if I die? And here's
Yeah.
the thing. In terms of this familial pathology, like our father experienced that IRL
Yes, he did.
in real
Yeah.
life.
And yes, he did.
And I
Yeah.
can tell you, my dad to this day, our dad to this day, can tell the story with crystal clear precision
Yeah.
of watching our grandmother in the kitchen. I can only tell it because I've heard him tell it so clearly.
Right.
In the kitchen on the phone when she receives a phone call
Yeah.
that her husband, our dad's father,
Yeah.
our grandfather, has died in a trucking accident, and a
Yep.
really random, like,
Random. Yeah.
random trucking accident. And Dad
Right.
was like 5, 4, maybe 6 years old. And he
Had
can
to be-
just,
I think he was closer to 4.
young, but this
Yeah.
memory
But
is
he can remember it.
cemented
Mhm.
in his mind. He even can say the shriek that he heard, that she
Yeah.
gave. And he remembers
Yeah.
her crumbling to the floor and the
Yeah.
phone hanging off the receiver because she had just found the news that was permanently going to change all of their lives
Everything.
forever. And so the
Yeah.
story that our dad then, he and his 5 siblings, our Uncle Wesley and he have to actually be relocated to extended family because Grandma Evans can't take care of them. She has to
And
choose.
not even, and we say extended family, but they weren't blood family.
Weren't even blood
Dad didn't
family.
stay with blood family.
Yep.
So yeah.
And so she had to
Yeah.
choose. I have to keep my girls
Right.
and I have to allow my boys to go with
Right.
extended family to raise them because I can't do it. Now, mind you, I'm not thinking about any of this in the moment when he says, what if I die?
What if I die?
But
Mhm.
as we process through familial pathologies, you already see it there. You see it demonstrated there because that what if I die was a reality for our father, which created a system for him of
Yeah.
survival.
Oh yes,
And a
it did.
system that he's simply saying, it doesn't matter if you're my daughter. It doesn't
Right.
matter if you're a girl. It doesn't
Right.
matter if Andre's the oldest or needs this
Right.
or needs that. I could die. And he had to walk through that. And so when I was thinking about this whole conversation, what my dad is saying is, I'm equipping you to learn to survive because life may
Right.
not work out the way
Right.
that you want it. And so from there,
Right.
I learned, as the saying goes, every tub has to stand on its own bottom.
Right.
That there is sometimes a system that does, reveal itself as a pathology that is giving you an edge. So where she get that edge from? She get it from a daddy.
Right.
Where she get that grind from? She get it from a
Get
daddy.
it from a
Why you
daddy.
so independent, huh? You get it from a dad. I can
Right.
keep going. Because
Yeah.
as you already really articulated so well in the sound off is there's pros and cons to this thing, right? There's
Right.
goods and bads, and
Mm-hmm.
what do we take ownership of? So for me and our dad, that situation that was for both of us really
Right.
changed my life and created this kind of predisposed behavior, that
Right.
helps me keep a grind on to know that life may hit. So I'm gonna kick it back to you in terms of your thoughts, but I also want to ask, how do we even define when it comes to this definition of familial
Mm-hmm.
pathology? You can maybe break that into, your thoughts on how our dad and
And
experiences
so,
happen.
yeah, so kind of piggybacking off of, how we both ingest what our dad is saying in that moment, and then kind of moving into how it actually redefines pathology for
Mm-hmm.
us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so immediately it does create this sense that, okay, wait a second, I need to figure life out, but not just I need to figure life out, I got to figure life out for myself,
So good. Yep. Mm-hmm.
because not every father says this, which means there are some out there that have figured life out for not themselves,
Mm-hmm.
but for how their family has always done things.
Ooh, good,
And
good.
as a result of that, as life changes, eras change, we're now in the 2020s, which life itself isn't the same as the 90s, like
So
when
good.
we grew up, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like
Right,
the
right.
80s and the 90s, it's so different right now.
Yep.
So if dad doesn't say, what if I die, or go figure things out,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just kind of living pathologically through the way they grew up, we be acting like we were living in the 70s, even though it's 2020.
Right. So
And that's
good.
why some people our age struggle to let go of childhood behaviors.
Ooh, that's
Some
good.
people struggle to be able to say, no, I don't do that no more.
Mm-hmm.
We don't act like that here. We don't behave like that. Why? Because we had to learn how to break away from the things that were familiar growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and realizing it's one of those statements. One of the things I say when I'm teaching my ministry students, but it's apropos here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not finna live an 8-track lifestyle in an Apple Music generation.
That's
It
good.
ain't, it don't work.
Not
It's
working.
not gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we look at, well, what are those, how do we define that, or what are those predisposed behaviors?
Mm-hmm.
The first thing we have to understand is our personal history it's a composite of several things. It's not
Mm.
just facts and information about
Yeah.
our past, but it's also facts, information about our past, but it involves our biological predispositions, our social roles in society,
Mm-hmm.
a system of assumptions or beliefs that we kind of inherit because of culture,
Right. Right.
right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
All of those things change over time. And if we don't adapt with the changes over time, then we end up carrying on something in pathology that causes us not to do so well.
Wow.
The way mom and dad treated their blackness in a white society is different than the way
Mm.
we do,
Absolutely.
right? The
Absolutely.
way mom and dad see the importance of a college education is different than the way I see it
Right.
for Corinne and Corey, different than you
Absolutely.
see it for Malachi. Because
Yep.
the fact of the matter is, if Corinne and Corey can invent the pet rock,
Come on.
forget college.
Right.
Forget college. We not doing
We
college.
may
Notice
not
I
be
say
doing
we.
it.
We
Especially
ain't
we
doing
not.
college. So we not. All it takes is for them to invent an app
Come on now.
that doesn't require college. We not going to college.
We
Is
buying an island.
Malachi. Right. That's what we doing. That's what we doing. We buying an island. So we see life different. And
Good.
I'm quick to say to Corey, more so than Corinne or
Sure.
Daniela, I'm
Sure.
quick to say to Corey, hey, if you come up with $1 million idea, don't go to college.
Now, come on
Why
now.
you gonna go in debt?
Come on now.
Just come on, live it out, live it out.
Listen.
Let's see how this works.
And we changed even
mean-
the mindset of, going to college if you have to pay for it, right? So it's like
That
you're not
too.
even going to go unless it's free.
Right, exactly. We ain't finna go into debt for this, because we fell into that pathology, which wasn't exactly family, but it was, meaning
Yeah.
here's mom and dad's generation that are are happy they're getting the right to go to college, right?
Absolutely.
Then
Absolutely.
here's our generation where they say to us, you have to go to college, but what they don't realize, and I don't know how they would,
Mhm.
is that it didn't always pay off. That's why there's
Right.
so much debt, college debt in our generation, and
Right.
not enough job financial security to pay off the debt.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
so our mind frame for our children now is don't go to debt.
Don't do it.
Listen, you can go to college, that's fine. I'm not paying no parent loans.
Right.
You not taking out no student loans. Because the fact of the matter is, a Yale degree looked good for our generation, but you know what? Community college looks just
This
as
is
good
You
for
better
their
teach.
generation.
You better teach.
And so now we don't do that
We
here.
don't do
We
that
ain't
here.
going. We don't do that here. We're not going in debt. We don't do that here. And it's just listen.
real.
But it's also look at the social aspect, because it's
Mm.
also mom and dad's generation were yes sir to racism, no sir to racism. Let me just keep my head low. Our generation is that's not right, but that's not right, but I'm going to endure this. Our kid generation is that's
no.
not right. I'm finna open my mouth. I'm finna cancel you.
Yep.
I know my mom and dad put their heads down, but we don't do that
We
here.
don't do that
I'm
here.
finna cancel you. Let me get on Twitter. Let me get on Instagram.
Come on now.
and listen. Let me find I'm gonna find your address. I'm gonna find where you work. I'm gonna
Yep.
call your job. I'm gonna tag your job on Twitter and be
Come
like, you
on.
still got this person hired? You
Come
still
on
got this
now.
person hired?
Come on.
You fired, and all you did was look at me. That's all you did was look at me
Teach.
wrong. So we don't do
We
that
don't
here.
do
This
that
is
here.
just that's and it's those pathological changes that you don't always see where you're in the kind of midst of what you're going through. It's those facets of our history that we ended up sharing with family members and others, and what we ended up doing is creating kind of this synthesis of who we really are. The synthesis of
Absolutely.
who and what we emotionally have experienced becomes this synthesis of who we are. And you get older and you say, you know what? But that's not me.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Or you learn it as you're on the way out the house, and you say to yourself, as soon as I leave this house, guess what I ain't gonna do no more.
I ain't gonna do.
And
It's
so,
will never.
right, as soon as I walk out the door, I will never do this again. I can run a list. I
Right?
stopped going to church for a couple of years. I stopped eating healthy vegetables. Damn them
Ooh, that's
vegetables.
good.
I ain't did.
I'm
What?
eating pizza every day.
Every
Watch
day.
me.
So, there's a whole lot of stuff. We just like, we because we have to have our own emotional, behavioral, mental, spiritual experiences in life to break the pathology, so that those things that don't work for us in our generation, we get rid of. So, but like you said, there is a duality. Our personal history is not just about data, but it's also about incidents in which we kind of experience intense emotion. And I say as a duality because there are some things that we picked up from mom and dad that like, no, I can use that. I can use that's a multi-generational response.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
It's lasting. Yeah.
That's a lasting. Yeah. No. I can do that because that's a boundary setting response. I saw my mom and dad set really good boundaries on people that they needed to set boundaries on.
Sure.
Well, that's something I had to learn, and my learning didn't come from a book. It came from remembering, I remember how dad kept that person, at distance. I remember how mom kept that person at distance. So yeah, there definitely is this kind of duality. So yeah, we just we as siblings, we see what our sibling is going through, because we're the first ones to be able to recognize, oh yeah, that's mom and dad. But we're also the first one to be able to recognize, but that ain't gonna work for you.
For me, you bring up
You
a
know, that-
really good point. Like, and because a lot of it comes down to what we experience when we're in the home, what we witness of our siblings and families, and then once we leave the home. So I always say this, and then I'm going to kick the question to you is, when you're inside the bottle, you can't read the label, right?
Right.
Right. Because you're inside, the bottle, so you can't see what's happening from there. But so do you think it's possible for people to identify family pathologies or isms before they leave the home? Like, do you feel like there's a part of the process that says you have to leave so that you then can really see where these
Mm-hmm.
isms are starting to spring up?
Right. So I'm gonna say yes,
Mm-hmm.
but not by yourself.
Ooh, that's good.
Like there's a lot of things that you didn't recognize about yourself, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't recognize about myself
Mm-hmm.
if it weren't for my siblings. See, I think there are times where even parents couldn't, because oftentimes the pathology was originating from the parents for us,
Right.
right? So since it's originating from them, they believe they're perfect.
Right.
Like, they believe everything that they plant grows roses,
Exactly.
right? Right. So why would they be like, no, don't be like me? No, they thought they were always
That's
right,
how we're doing it.
right?
What do you mean?
And so we've got some of those real scenarios like where like dad's relationship with his children.
Mm, yep.
I'm sure dad thought to himself, I'm doing it right.
Right.
But like, dude, you don't talk to us on a daily basis. Like, you just come in, you sit on the chair. They ain't no like, hey champ, how was your day?
we can count the hugs, right? We can count the number of
Right,
hugs.
on one hand. There was no how you doing it? No, there was Andre standing in front of the TV. My bad, Dad.
Right.
My fault.
A grunt.
Right. Andre, you're breathing too loud.
Right.
My fault, Dad. But then the same thing with mom and her relationship with money.
Yo.
Like, no, she will pinch a tenth of a penny. I'm not getting my gas here because it's a 100th of a penny less there. So
Across town.
Across town, you done already used up 2 gallons just to save 200, right? And that right. So you and I, we were like, no, when we had kids, we gonna do this.
We don't
when
do
we
that.
have money, I ain't finna do this with and it works fine for us. It works
so
fine.
good.
But let's look at the real pathology. The real pathology there is so much of, and this isn't even a racial thing, it's just a societal thing.
Mm.
So much of the family dynamic is pulling on the father away.
Oof, that's good.
Away.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I don't go and be like, oh yeah, there's black folk, they dads on. No, that's every race.
Right.
With a father struggling to remain in the home.
Mhm.
And it's a societal thing. And so I had to make the determination, no. It doesn't matter marriage or not. My kids got to hear my voice daily.
That's so good.
They got to know I'm with them daily. And then the thing with money, for mom, that generation, money wasn't as accessible as it is to us.
Right.
And even more accessible to Corinne, Corey, Daniela, Malachi, right?
Right.
So we see money different. Yeah,
Absolutely.
man, listen, as long as I got enough money to eat in my bank account,
Right.
everything else is
It's
disposable.
okay. Come on now.
It's it's okay.
And it's okay. Ooh, that's good. That's good.
Because money is more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
I could lose. Now, I won't even say lose my job. I could not be getting everything I want from my job, but I've got a gift or a talent in me that today is marketable and can be monetized. I can get on YouTube and just say the right things, and sooner or later, I'm going to get paid. Business, right? So, we can monetize. But that wasn't accessible to
That's good.
our parents' generation. So I get why Dad kind of was who he was. And in his mind, I truly believe he thought being in the home, that's being a father. But again, remember, like you said earlier, he didn't grow up with a father. So how would he know?
How would he know?
And I'm pretty sure mom thought it's okay to pinch every single penny because growing up, it was hard for her culture to have money accessible as much.
Yeah. Well, and Grandpa was a sole breadwinner, for her home.
That
so
too.
He had to pinch every penny because he was the only fallback, right? So that's a pathology there. One thing you brought up that I think is so profound in terms of this question about leaving the home is you said, yes, we can get it, but you want the help of others, right? Like it's not just leaving the home and then so becoming so isolated and separated.
Right.
But others will also help you then pivot from, like learn from. Like, we're talking about this premise of we don't do that here. But there's a piece of that also says, okay, maybe this was happening, but what can I do to change the pathology?
Sure.
And more importantly, even if I maybe can't change it within me, as you've
Mm-hmm.
also said, I can change it for our kids. And one of our
Mm-hmm.
mutual friends back from Wichita, Kansas, she had 3 boys or has 3 boys. And it's so funny. I didn't realize this truth for her until after we were adults and I was moved away. But we were having a conversation, and she said to me, she said, Anitra, she said, me, you, and our 2 other friends, our best friends growing up, we all promised to leave Wichita to go off to college and to live our lives. And I'm like, yeah.
Right.
And she's like, but who actually did it? And when I thought about myself, her, and our 2 other friends, I just kind of got quiet. And she said, right. She said, you were the only one that actually did it.
Yeah.
She said,
Yeah.
we talked about it, we thought about it, but you were the
Right.
one that actually did it. So here's the beauty of how you can now, pivot or shift or transform pathology, because most of her siblings all stayed in Wichita too, just like she did. She
Right.
made a new strategy with her 3 boys where she said,
Right.
the first year of college, you will go to a school out of state.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
required. And she said, now, mom
Right.
is not saying I don't want you here. Mom is saying, I want to make sure that at least at some point in this journey, I get you out of this state. Now, if
Right.
after the year you choose to come back, then that's fine. But it won't be
Right.
because you didn't experience it, right? And so what's so amazing is her oldest son went away, went off to Grambling, stayed away a year or so, came back and finished school at home and is happily working, started a business
Right.
there, doing his thing. When
Right.
it comes to her middle child, he went away to college, was gone for 2
Right.
years and stayed gone, like was
Right.
happily there and is going to stay
Exactly.
living out of state. And now her youngest
Exactly.
boy is getting into his high school or his final senior year in high school. And now he
Okay.
has to now determine what he's going to do. But he's already seen a shift
Right.
in the
Right.
pathology there. One, because his mom kind of created this, what I would call like a healthy mandate, right? Like
Uh-huh.
some people
Yeah.
might look at it kind of like, oh, that's too much. But again, it's her idea of shifting and saying,
Right.
we all of the family stayed here. We didn't leave. We didn't go anywhere.
Right.
And I want to make sure I set up a new strategy for our
Yes.
kids. And I think
Yeah.
that came from her gleaning from us, looking at
Right.
the Evans family. And not because
Mm.
she couldn't look at her home family. So when you talk about
Yeah.
being able to see it in others and getting some help around you and looking and modeling in different ways,
Yeah.
you do
Yeah.
have to look at other people that are doing things that you admire, and that you
Yeah.
can use those strategies to absolutely help you get there. But let me ask this question, because we've already talked about the good and the bad.
Right.
How do you determine which pathologies, and I'll use this phrase here that you brought to me, which pathologies do you purpose? Which
Mm-hmm.
pathologies do you prune? How do you
Right.
figure out, what to keep and what to give away, what to let go of?
So, and I kind of touched based on it earlier, and this is just my thoughts on it, of
Mhm.
course. We don't look at the specifics of the pathology. We look at kind of the substratum or the underlying worldview, thought, emotion under it. So again, as what I touched based on earlier, and I think we can build off of that right here, is, mom's relationship with money is
Mhm.
rooted in lack of access, which created an emotional piece,
There we go.
right? You remember, mom is the one who, when we were coming up, we had such little money that instead of eating lunch, she would eat ice for lunch. So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
begins to develop her relationship with money. It's this fear of it ain't coming back. So that's why I say lack of access.
Gotcha.
Whereas, so what do I prune? I prune the fear.
Good.
Right. I don't, and for dad, and we talked about this in a previous episode, but it's, I think, again, apropos here,
Mm-hmm.
when it looks at, his relationship with us as his children, I believe that there are times where dad was actually afraid of being successful at being a great father, because
Wow.
it meant letting go of or looking at his own background probably and saying, yeah,
Mhm.
this wasn't right.
Yeah.
And that's, and that part, fear of success has a lot to do with telling yourself, I haven't been doing it right
Ooh,
up to this point.
right,
And that's a
right.
hard part. That's a hard acknowledgement to get to
Sure.
within yourself. And it's easier for you and I because we're still kind of in the restrictive state of being in the home where we can
Right.
say, yeah, that doesn't work. I'm not going to do that.
Right. Right.
As soon as I leave here, I'm not going to do that,
Mhm.
because once we leave, we're no longer in the restrictive state that is the home.
Right.
Because when you're in the home and you see the pathology, you see the behavior, relationship with money with mom, there's
Mhm.
nothing we can do. Why? We're not bringing any money to the table.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when we see the interaction with dad, there's nothing we can do. Why? Because we're not the parent.
We're not in those shoes. Yeah. Yeah.
We're not it right. So, but once we get out of that restrictive state, or I shouldn't say restrictive, constrictive state.
Good.
And I say constrictive state because it's not that it's holding you back, but it's not giving you life to breathe.
Good. Ooh, that's good. So
that's why I say constrictive, because
Yeah.
it's not giving you life to find your own breath,
That's
find
good.
your own path. So it's
Good,
not
good.
restrictive. It's not holding us back because we were able to be exactly what we wanted to be within the
Absolutely.
constraints of that age.
Absolutely.
Like mom and dad never, but it's their pathology given their own restrictions that were constrictive to us.
Yes.
And so as soon as we walk outside of the home, or kind of to use your term, you can't see the label until you left the bottle. As
Yeah.
soon as I'm able to leave the bottle, I can say, "Hey, Nikki," and it's gonna sound crazy to you, but I'm saying, "Hey, Nikki, you're gonna have to read the label backwards
Teach.
because you're on the inside of the bottle. You
Teach.
can see letters, but they don't make sense to you.
Come on.
I
now.
need you to learn how to read the label backwards because you're still in the bottle."
in the bottle.
But now that I'm
Before I get out.
outside of the bottle and I'm reading the label, I'm saying, "Oh, here's some warning signs."
Come on
right?
now, teach.
Here's some warning signs that you can't read, but I
Right.
need you to read them backwards.
Yep.
I need you to be able to say, "Yeah, this is why that's not working for mom and dad. I'm going to start to breathe right now so that when I leave, I already know the things that have to be pruned in my behaviors, but then the same things that are purposed as I move on to adulthood." Well, the purpose part is I don't need to be afraid of money, but I need to be wise.
Right.
Yeah, I don't need to be a hands-off parent, but I also need to have balance where I let my kid grow and not be sheltering. So those are the things you purpose is you don't throw the whole system away. You just say the system would work better for me during this time in the world under my circumstances this way. It's not all bad.
Right.
Times just change.
Yeah.
Money's different today than it was yesterday. Opportunities are different today than they were yesterday. So we have to step outside of the life we lived in the 90s because it's 2020 right now. I said that earlier, but that's kind of that's how you prune.
Yeah.
But like I said, but you don't get rid of everything. It's not all bad.
Yeah, because
There's-
pruning is for the good. When
It
you
is
think
for the
about
good,
it may
absolutely.
be painful, uncomfortable, but it's actually going to make sure that you properly bear the fruit that the plant or the
Absolutely.
tree can, grow. For me, I'm co-signing everything you said, but I always thought about the Evans family, our family, in kind of two contexts. So one, kind of this somewhat rigid independence, which goes back to what we talked about today, that, you have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet because there's no guarantee that you're going to get the help and support that you hopefully desire and need.
Right.
But the flip side is this importance of being education centered. And when it comes to the purpose and the pruning, I just remember as I was getting through college and starting to, build a future, as you just mentioned for myself, I was like, my family never talked to me about business ownership or entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And so now we know how important that is. Like our children have to have not only a home-based business, but some sort of business or entrepreneurial spirit that's going to garner them
Right.
multiple streams of income. And that
Right.
wasn't necessarily the truth for our parents, as you already mentioned, the generations and
Right.
the mental space that they came through and the living environment, society they were in. But for us, we know it's crucial, it's critical.
Right.
Because you're not
Yeah.
guaranteed to work 40 years on a job. And even if you could,
Right.
who wants to? Like that's not
Right.
even the thing that we do anymore. And so
Mhm.
that was something where I took the beauty of education, but then I said, well, yeah, I'm going to springboard that my parents instilled in me and springboard it to now. How can I use this knowledge to not only have, a career, but actually launch a business? And I think,
Yeah.
like you said, the harmony. And then when it comes to that independent spirit, that actually started to bring me a lot of hurt, particularly
Sure.
as a woman who was married.
Right.
No longer married, but I did develop this independent edge that
Yeah.
even in
Yeah.
dating was problematic. Where
Right.
I can't tell you how many times brothers would be like, "You two so independent, you don't need no help.
Right.
I don't want to open the
Right.
door. I don't want to pay for nothing. I want to go Dutch."
Right.
Because the
Mhm.
assumption is she's so strong, she's so focused, she's so driven, which those can be beautiful and appropriate qualities. But I had
Yeah.
to learn how to ease up. One of my mentors years ago, he said, "You remind me so much of my wife." He was like, when I met her, she was like an ice block. He's like, I had to just keep chipping
Chisel.
away and
Yep.
chisel
Had to
down, then
chisel.
open
Yep.
it up. He said, pull her out, then warm her up with a hug.
Right.
How does that feel? Is that a little better out here? And I
Yeah.
remember it was a moment where I thought, ooh, I need to work on. And I don't think our dad would have told us that, because his thing
No.
was, while that might be important, if I have to choose, I'd rather you be gangster. I'd rather you have
Yeah.
an edge, so I know you can eat and survive if no one
Yeah.
comes, or if you choose
Yeah.
not to get married. And so
Yeah.
it's so true, bro, that purpose and pruning, I think we're designed
Yeah.
and meant to make sure we find the harmony, not necessarily the balance, because I think it
Right.
leans to one side or the other. But I think
Sure.
there's an importance to, the harmony of, I need to prune here, I need to purpose here, and be
Right.
okay. Like you said, be okay with,
Mm-hmm.
being able to, adjust in the moment. So I want to give you one other question as we're kind of transitioning here. So how does someone, begin to change or break the pathologies, especially maybe if it's something that is borderline toxic, or if it is
Sure.
something that you really need to let go of? What are
Yeah.
some strategies to start breaking that stuff down and releasing it?
Yeah, yeah, as we kind of move into the transformational perspective, it starts, I feel like it starts with exposure, right?
Good.
And I start there because it's kind of one of the things that comes to mind, or a statement that comes to mind, is exposure leads to expansion.
I love
If
it.
I'm going to grow beyond what I've seen my family always do,
Mm-hmm.
I first have to be exposed to what other possibilities or other ways of handling the world we live in exist. And then I can expand my own behaviors, my own thoughts, my own
Right.
worldview, my own emotional response or reaction to what's happening in life. Because, see, if all I do is I remain in the same path, same behaviors, then that's that other statement, which is, I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Ooh, that's
I
good.
have no idea what life has to offer to expand me, because my worldview has been very limited to just the behaviors, the pathology that I grew up with and that my family represents. So
Yeah.
so the start is kind of like finding people, finding places, spaces, finding anything that kind of models the life that you want to have. And
Mm-hmm.
again, it's oftentimes your siblings that know that the best and recognize it first,
Right. Yep.
because my reach, even though I have a sister who's 4 years younger than me, my reach is because prior to leaving high school, we had at least one statement that said, we got to get out of Wichita.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We,
Yep.
we just, and I love Wichita. Nothing
Right.
wrong
We
with it.
both. Yes.
But there's more to this world than that.
Yes. Yes.
And so exposure does, so the expanding that exposure does, one, exposure builds your value system.
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
do I find valuable? Because again, it's a generational thing. Mom and dad valued education. I actually value uh, family living. So that's different than what mom and dad value.
Right. Right.
So then I had to say, well, I need to see part of the world that shows dynamic family living. Because remember, I'm leaving with the concept of, when I have kids, this what I'm finna do. When I have kids, this how we finna spend our money. So now I've got to find an environment that builds that value system. So then
Mm-hmm.
as I'm seeing different parts of the world, I'm saying to myself, oh, no, I want to be in a city where we can get to the beach. I want to be in a
Mm-hmm.
city where there's a lot for families to do, because that's my value system.
So good.
But I wasn't exposed to that in our home in Wichita, because our parents were academically driven,
Right.
not
Right.
family driven.
Right.
So, and when we do that, then what exposure does is it gives us this kind of process of defining who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we say, yeah, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that person. Exposure helps us define that, because it's expanding what we think about ourselves. And then finally, when we look at exposure, and again, we're talking like modeling behavior, right? So
Yeah.
then finally,
Yeah.
when we talk about exposure, we're talking about how exposure actually inspires accountability to
Ooh.
raise yourself.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now we're circling back to what dad said. What if I die?
Yeah.
You are accountable to raising
Raise
yourself,
Yep.
because raising you doesn't stop when you turn 17 and graduate, 18 and graduate from high school. You're raising yourself your entire life.
Mm.
And so there are certain things that you can carry from childhood and others you got to get rid of because times are different.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to be able to take a risk on yourself, because one of the reasons why we carry on the same behaviors we grew up with, we don't want to take a risk. We want to stay
Right.
with what's
Right.
what's
It's
worked for our
comfortable.
family.
Ooh, that's good.
We
Yep.
want to stay in a comfort zone.
Yep.
So exposure expands who you think about, how you think about yourself, who you think you are to yourself, and you'll take a risk.
Yep.
The fact of the matter, it is not easy to walk in spaces that are unfamiliar or unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
But I like what we came to when we were just talking about this. Are you willing to invest in yourself?
Ooh, that's good. Yep.
Are you really willing to listen to yourself, but also listen to that one person that's closest to you, which oftentimes is your sibling, and
Right.
say, you know, you should try this. Because here's the thing about it. Our dad was an engineer,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to a magnet school that focused on engineering
Right.
because I wanted to be an engineer. After 1 year, I realized I don't want to be an engineer. So I went back to the public school in which I was learning myself, and said, yeah, that ain't for me at all.
I'm cracking up because I was like, I never knew you wanted to be an engineer. But then you
Exactly.
told the full story, and I was like, aha.
Exactly. I did not know I didn't want to be an engineer until I went to an engineer. Magnet school was like, yeah, no,
And life
I
taught
don't
you.
want to be an engineer.
This is terrible.
Right, this is like I don't understand. Like, why would
He
Dad do
likes
this to himself? Right?
That's why he's so angry.
Right. That's why he's that's why he doesn't
doesn't
talk
hug
to
me.
anybody.
Right.
That's why I'm always in the way when he comes home, in the way of the TV.
He's been dealing with this all day
He's
long.
right. So, so I get it. So we've got to be able to invest in ourselves, as if to say, wait a second, I'm not built that way. So therefore, I'm not doing that. Well, how am I built? Well, not, listen to those closest to you who are not the origins of your pathology.
Right.
Oh, you really be good at this. You do this really well. Right? So it's before I leave high school that I'm told, yeah, you write really, really well. Or that I'm told
Right.
people love talking to you and listening to you. People love receiving advice from you. People love hearing from you, because when you speak, and at 17, a minister at the church we were going to told Mom, that boy's going to be a minister. Watch. And I'm looking at him like, no, you crazy, because, that's not my plan. That's not it, right?
Yeah.
But it took someone outside of the origin of my pathology to notice what's on me. And oftentimes a sibling will do that. A best friend will do that. People or your peers who you're very close to, they see it on you. But as long as you're inside, as we said earlier, inside the bottle, you can't see the label. You don't know. And so you carry on the good and the bad of what's happening in your environment pathologically. So to break from that, take some risks on what people are saying about you. Expose yourself to so much. The more you expose yourself to, the more you're inspired to start raising yourself. And that doesn't mean that you're a juvenile child or a delinquent. That doesn't mean you don't love. No. But only you can raise you the way that you're inspired to, the way that you're built to move towards. So to me, that's how you start to break those pathologies. Exposure, take a risk on yourself.
That's so good. And perfectly segues to the transformational perspective, which we kind of dabbled into. But, sometimes this is Savage Siblings podcast, and we always like to, shine a light on, our opinions of the benefits of having siblings. And so for this transformational perspective, certainly siblings, I feel, can help us dig deeper into the pathologies, especially when they are sensitive. They are difficult to talk about. They are topics that we could easily try to avoid, right? Like we talk
Right.
about this umbrella, theme of we don't do that here. There are plenty of we don't do that here is that we can go our whole upbringing and never talk about the
Right.
we don't do that
Right.
here and
Right.
then leave and then have to
Mm-hmm.
contend with it. So I guess the core question for this segment is, are there benefits to having a sibling that can discuss sometimes the things that only you and the siblings know, right?
The
Because we put
sensitive
that
topics.
mask up so the
Yeah.
people outside of the home don't even know that's the pathology
Mm-hmm.
that you need to
Mm-hmm.
fight, that you need to deal with, right? So, what
Right.
are your thoughts on the benefit of having a sibling or that person that can
Mm-hmm.
even push you through the sensitive pathologies that you don't even want to touch? I don't even want to look at it. Like, we ain't
Well,
talking about
yeah.
just cursing, like stop cursing, right?
No,
We talking
no.
about there's some grit there that I don't even want to
Yeah.
deal with.
Yeah. So, let's look at the counterpoint side of that first, because there are definite benefits, and we'll roll through that. But look at the counterpoint. Or in other words, what happens if you don't trust a sibling or someone close to be able to discuss those sensitive ones? Then you end up with an individual instead of someone who knows how to connect with society relationally or connect with one
Community.
person.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
now, you've got individualism,
Yeah.
and so you break off in isolation. You believe that you can just kind of build your own name, and you don't
Mm.
need family.
Mm.
And we see examples of that in the world we live in. We
Yep.
see examples of an individual who said, "I want nothing to do with my family."
Right. Yeah.
And the tough part of that is every family has some level of toxicity.
Yep.
Every family.
Yep.
But you have to learn how to deal with that. You got to learn how to have a sound and solid relationship so that you can discuss that, because bottling that up leads
Oof.
to more destruction.
Absolutely.
Working through it actually leads to the ability to be able to handle it when stuff like that happens later in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it may not be that one specific thing, but something's going to come up later in life as an adult that if you didn't have someone who you could really discuss those sensitive family topics with, then you really don't know how to work through that. And you're going to find that toxic issue harming you again.
Yeah. Or
Uh, wh-
continuing, like you thinking
or
you're
continuing.
isolating and avoiding it, but it
Mm-hmm.
seeps out. It reminds me of, we have some extended family members that unfortunately had physical violence, right?
Yeah.
In their home.
Yeah.
And they never, no therapy, no counseling, no
Yeah.
addressing it. Let's not talk about it. Let's talk
Right.
about it in separate spaces, but not
Right.
collectively. And we watch that pathology, that physical violence track down generation
Right.
to generation, not just between husband and wife but in terms
Right.
of the spouses or the boyfriends and girlfriends that everybody selected, physical harm between each other, when now you're putting
Right.
hands on each other. And no one talked about it. No one
Right.
talked about it with the mindset of, hey, this is a problem. Let's
Right.
address it. Let's find healing. Instead, it's
Right.
like you said, that individualism that says, no, I'm just going to handle it my way, which is how I
Right.
do it. Don't come here bothering me. You stay where you are, and we're going to deal. And like you said, it just absolutely repeats itself, which is just so unfortunate. It's
It
devastating.
does. It does. And so, I liken it, because we're talking, these are toxic issues. I liken it to, just the alcoholic or just drinking alcohol. Alcohol itself is toxic.
Right.
And yet, what we have to do sometimes is we have to apply a chaser, right? We
Come
got
on
to
now.
dilute it a little bit. We
Come
have
on
to,
now.
because we've got to break down the potency of what can actually kill you.
Come on.
And right. And so we find ways and measures of how do we break down the toxicity of alcohol so we don't die. But at the same time, we can work through this and not abandon
Mm,
family dynamics, not
yeah.
abandon my family history,
Yeah.
because there's good that comes out of family history. There's good that comes out of family relationships. So we can't
Mhm.
abandon it. So it's like, in matter of fact, when I think about it, you can't abandon legacy or dysfunction
Ooh.
of your family. You can't abandon
Wow. Say
either
that
one
again.
of them.
Wait, say that again.
All right. So you can never completely abandon the legacy or the dysfunction that is your family.
Ooh,
You're going to carry both of those with you.
that's good.
So you got to dilute. You got to get a chaser for the toxic side, because you still gonna come, your family's still gonna come out with flavor.
Mm.
We just got to make sure it comes out in a way that it don't kill you.
Kill you. Oh, that's
So you may have to feel, every now and then you're gonna have feelings that are simply the product of the environment you were raised in, right? You're gonna have feelings connected to your history, your successes and your failures, right? But they're tethered together, right? So they're all tethered together to these generational legacies, but they're and these generational dysfunctions. But all of that can be overcome when you realize, how do I prune?
Yeah.
And how do I purpose kind of the pathology in my family? And you got to do that.
Yep.
You got to do that.
It's the bottom line of the being uncomfortable in the transparency of pruning can then, lead to, like you said, the connection to the legacy, which you're right. You cannot forego that. We don't get to cut off the legacy. Like, that's part of just being here and walking on earth. And so, that bottom line is that you got to focus on getting into that uncomfortable space to deal with all the, and we all have dysfunction. Like, that's, like you said, it's just, we all have it. And then building that to a space that you're really proud of, the legacy and knowing that it's always correcting. It's always course correcting.
Always.
It's always, minor corrections, major corrections that are lasting, that you hopefully pass that on to your children and the next generations to keep course correcting as we go.
Right.
So I love that.
And see, and there's the thing about building a legacy. It's actually this ongoing ability to, what's that term they use in art? Oh, curate, like curators.
Curate it, yep.
To like curate, excuse me, like a new future.
Yep.
And you're doing that by transforming and reframing your thoughts, retraining your brain to think differently so that you can look at purpose rather than, again, what has the potential to harm you, but look at purpose. Like, the fact of the matter is, you don't have any control over the parents you were birthed to. You don't have any control over how your parents treated you, loved you, or lack thereof. But you do have the power over whether or not you repeat the cycle.
Oof.
And legacy is about what cycles do we curate and bring more value to, like a masterpiece. But it's also about what cycles do we cut out, because not everything makes it on the masterpiece. Some things have to get blotted out, and so we've got to. That's what legacy is about, and so we got to be able to do that. So it's just funny, and I don't know about you. I'm ready for the quick shot if you're ready for it.
Let's do it. Quick shot. Let's go.
So here's the thing with the quick shot today on this step. I was reading. This had to be a while ago, but you got to bring it up here. There's a meme that I sent to you and Mom,
right.
And the meme said, "It's amazing how two children can be raised in the same home, have the same parents, have the same rules, and they end up being very different. One, a pastor, and the other, a crackhead." Well, we know who the pastor is.
I can't with you. I cannot.
All right. All right. I'm just saying.
So we're going to post that meme so you guys can see it. And he's a pastor and a crackhead. That's really what the meme says.
That's not what the meme says.
The duality that we've already
see. This is how we know I'm the pastor and the crackhead. You literally just said we're gonna post the meme and then be like, that's not what the meme says. That's old crackhead response.
And that's really why he wanted to share it with me and our mother, was so that he could pick on me. If it hadn't said one a pastor, he wouldn't have even shared it, right?
Look at God. Look at God.
Look at God. All right, I have a quick shot for you as well, and we're going to start rounding up here. So this will be another round of yes and no and. I'm going to say a statement. If you agree, you say yes, and you add a little bit there. If you disagree, you say no, and you can add a little bit to kind of clarify it. So we're going to use the theme of, as soon as I leave this house, or as soon as I leave home, I'm never going to. That's kind of the theme for this. So, all right, so here we go. As soon as I leave home, I'm never going to nag people, my children included, the way my mom nagged me.
Yes, and that was a lie.
Next one.
Because I'm going to tell you.
Right.
I'm going to tell you. I have perfected ways to nag my kids because they get on my nerves not doing what I ask them, I'm telling them to do. So, yeah. Yes, and I lied.
And I lied.
Yeah.
I love it. As soon as I leave home, I'm never going to choose comfort over fashion. And allow comfort to outweigh my fashion choices.
Listen. I know I talked about mom and dad. Dad in his dad pants. Mom and that slip. But let me tell you something. I have dad pants, and I ain't got no problem with it. I will absolutely choose comfort over a fashion model quality. Listen, I ain't on nobody's cat strip anytime soon. I ain't finna do no show in Milan anytime soon. I will walk and strut in my living room to my couch in my flannel pants, in my tube socks,
and sing a song.
I sure will in a hot minute. Look, I apologize, mom and dad, for how I talked about y'all's clothing, but look at my closet now. You thought I got hand-me-downs. I'll tell you now.
Ooh. Comfort is paramount. Okay, let's do a few more. As soon as I leave this house or leave home, I'm never going to say that music was much better in my day.
Wait, say it one more time.
As soon as I leave my home or this home, I'm never going to say that music was much better in my day.
That's actually, like, I'm never going to say much. Oh, I lied. No.
Right? What you hear, you're like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. That's why I needed you to repeat the question, right? Because I'm going to tell you now, this old mumble mouth rap generation, I can't know. No, absolutely. I think I say that on a daily basis. I'm sure I say my music is so much better than that's what y'all listening to.
I love it. All right, let's do just a few more and then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
As soon as I leave home, I'm never going to tell my children they'll understand when they get older.
Oh, actually, no, I've said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've said that. Yeah. Because at this point, man, listen, just do what I say. I don't feel like having a conversation. You'll understand you'll understand later. Just trust me, please. Please.
Okay, this one's personal for us. And it's definitely a yes and, but I lied for me. As soon as I leave home, I'm never going to get angry with people when they touch the thermostat in my house.
Yeah, that's a yes and I lied.
Right?
That's an absolute yes and I lied.
I used to be like, what difference does it make, Dad? It's cold in here. Now I'm like, I will wake up out of sleep and be like, who in the heaven?
Right. I will. Somebody's finger getting chopped off.
Right.
I have, and this is, it is what it is. I have taken tape in order to pull off a fingerprint on my thermostat and gone to Corinne and Corey and say, when I find out whose fingerprint this is,
I'm on my way to the lab.
Right. I'm over there dusting it with baby powder. I'm like, yeah, okay, all right.
Oh, I love it. We have more. I'm just going to do one last one because we do have to wrap it up. But all right. As soon as I leave home, I am never going to eat the same meals each week. Hashtag pork chops again.
And salmon patties.
Right.
So, yes, and I've held true to that. I haven't had a salmon patty since May 3rd, 1992.
Right.
At 6:05 p.m. Yes.
I'm going to tell you.
I have not.
I have to say, yes, and I lied. I don't cook the meals that, like you said, pork chops, salmon patties. We will never eat those again because our parents tortured us. But I've created my own where now Malachi is like, spaghetti again? So I feel like it just parlayed into the ones that I like to cook now.
Yeah.
And yes, we cook them every week because they're easy or just because we like them. And you better shut up and eat it. That's what you better do.
Right.
Or you can go to bed with nothing. Drink some water, right? Keep playing with me, right? So it's a yes and I lied because I just picked different menu items.
I have been blessed that Daniela, Corinne, and Corey can burn.
Yes,
And
Lord.
so,
Yes, they can.
yeah, I feel like I eat something different all the time because the three of them can flat out burn. And I'm so thankful
They thank the
for
Lord.
that. So, yeah. Yeah. And I'm very thankful. Nary one of them have put the word salmon patty in their mouth.
Right. Well, that's
And,
because we made sure they didn't experience it.
right.
Right. It just didn't
Right.
happen.
At all.
All right, bro. What you got for the final blow as we're wrapping up this app?
Well, one of the things that I want to encourage kind of everyone in hearing this particular app is that we get to develop our own belief system. And that belief system informs us of kind of how we interpret our world. And what we don't want to do is get caught up in the way our parents interpreted it or the way that society says do it. Because the fact of the matter is, from the way you have viewed your world, you're forming these actions, right? These attitudes, these emotions, and you're doing it over the span of your entire life, and they're continuing to shape you even today. But here's the thing. Your belief systems are influenced by a number of factors, right? But they come up with how you're going to approach your life. So as you're looking at who you are today, and you're looking at what did you bring from when you were a child, what did you bring from the influence of your family, or what did you bring from the influence of the things you went through in life? Again, I want to go back to the pruning, and I want to go back to just what needs to be not just pruned, but what needs to be purposed in terms of pathology. And kind of being the pastor I am, I quickly was reminded about a verse that Paul writes in 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8. He says, "For physical training is of some value, but godliness has a value for all things." So holding promise for both the present life and the life to come. One of the things Paul is saying there, and this is kind of like I feel like life value to live by is don't forsake the good or the bad of what came out of you and your family. There's legacy and there's dysfunction. But do understand that there are some things that are coming out of just kind of who you are in your actions and your behaviors that have some value, some have no value. But the underlying issue, why do I do this? Why do I feel this when I do this? Why do I feel this when I experience it? That tells you kind of who you are morally. That tells you who you are in godly value. And that value is for all things. It's for relationships. It's on your job. It's with your children. It's in when you take a risk on yourself. That has value and worth for whatever you do. Because ultimately, you're gifted. Ultimately, you've got something in you that is of use to this world. And so you want to stick to what is morally right. You want to stick to what is godly right and form a pattern or a world view or a world response or world action or a pathology from that and not necessarily from what you're used to. Because it's those things, it's the value of who you are intrinsically. That's what's going to bring forward everything that you were created to do, both presently and in your life to come. So to me, that would kind of be the final blow when we look at pathology. Prune some, purpose, balance the two. Know what needs to be pruned, know what needs to be purposed.
So good. I love it. So that's going to do it for us. We thank you guys so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Please leave comments at all of our platforms. If you have your own version of "as soon as I leave home, I'll never," we'd like
We
to
wanna
hear
hear it.
that. If you have suggestions for the podcast or topics that you think would be interesting for us to discuss, please shout us out. Let us know. Speaking of shout outs, huge shout out to Dwayne McClendon, our podcast editor, post-production supervisor. We could not do it without you. Shout out to Ronnie Maxwell, our music
Maxwell
producer
Music.
and music supervisor, making sure that we sound good. Shout out to our parents, Dolores and Gene Evans, who, if it weren't for you guys, we actually would not be here, obviously.
Have nothing to talk about.
We're so glad to be here. And we're so glad you joined us for Savage Siblings podcast, where we're brutally honest, relentlessly transparent, and unapologetically authentic. Can't wait to see you guys next time. Remember, don't go through life alone. See you next time.
Yeah.